MNPEA, and particularly Mike, and your new leadership from your union has done a very nice job for you in terms of representing your interests both individually and collectively. Individually, when people get jammed up or run into problems. Collectively, in terms of contract, issues that come before. I enjoy that. I think over the last 8 years, we have tried to make ourselves available from an administration standpoint, particularly the sheriff, to have a one-on-one relationship with the stewards that represent your union. Not all of you get a chance to come to the table. We either meet in my office, sometimes we'll go to a caribou. I think we went to Dunn Brothers last time. To have a one-on-one conversation, but I think your stewards or your representatives do a good job of representing your interests. And keep in mind that I do a lot of things day in and day out. I travel no less than 125 miles a day across this county. It's a big place. About 1/3 of our workforce works here at the ADC. Others work other parts of the agency. But in terms of your union specifically, fairly confined to the ADC. My job as your sheriff is to be the spokesperson for the agency, to be the one that's out there every day being your biggest cheerleader, advocating for what's important for you with the 1.2 million residents of this county and the other things we do collectively. I always tell folks there's 3 things that the sheriff does. One is public safety, which is fairly easy, whether it's a line of business in the jail, whether it's out on patrol, whether it's 911 dispatch or the crime lab or any part in between. Secondly is about public policy, advocating for good public policy both on the national level, whether it's at the White House or Congress, here at the state level with our senators and representatives and the governor, or sometimes locally working with city councils and mayors and watershed districts and Lake Minnetonka Conservation District, all points in between. And the third part is public service, which is what we do every day. And like it or not, we're all public employees. You're a public employee, I'm a public employee. We provide a public service to the residents of Hennepin County who employ us. The day-to-day operations of the Sheriff's Office is run through the Chief Deputy, Mike Carlson. I'm adamant about that. I don't interfere in day-to-day operational issues of the Sheriff's Office. And my job is to interact with the other elected officials in the county, whether it's the 7 commissioners, on occasion, more often than not, county administration, and or, like I said, 45 mayors, about 450 different sets of city council members, 201 state legislators, 2 Congress people that work for us, both in terms of Paulson and Ellison, and the 2 U.S. Senators, Klobuchar and Franken. That's what I do day in and day out. I think we've come a long ways over the last 8 years. I think about, the first time I had a chance to come before what then was Teamsters, not MNPEA, but Teamsters, and we had a conversation about who the best candidate was for sheriff of this county. And you had a fairly clear choice. Neither one of us had a track record. We both had our backgrounds, different life experiences, wisdom, on-the-job experience that we brought to the table, and the residents county chose. And they chose again in 2010 when I got reelected, and I'm hoping they'll so choose in 2014. And I'd like to do it with your help. I'd like to do it with your support. And I understand if you're not able to do that. But I think the choice between the candidates this time around is clear as well. I've got 8 years of track history and experience with the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. I think I understand the day-to-day operations of this agency. I understand what makes the Sheriff's Office tick. I know that you're in contract negotiations and or your contract is out for a vote, by the way. Is it back? You get it done?
No, it should go out on Friday.
Oh, it hasn't been out yet. All right. I think the sworn deputies just brought theirs back yesterday or the day before, and 3.5 and 3.5, correct, Mike?
Yeah.
Which is what's offered to
It's the
detention as well.
exact same offer.
Exact same offer. And so, we'll see where that goes. Collectively, then on January 1st, you get what is retroactive 14, and then moving into 15. You've got the same, I think, parameters. And so I'd like you to consider giving me another chance to serve a 3rd term as your sheriff. It's going to be hard to beat me collectively. Like I said, we have good days, we have bad days. please keep in mind that my best interest is for the overall benefit of this agency. The men and women who work here, people who get jammed up. If they get jammed up because they made a mistake and they took choice B instead of choice A, hey, we can work it out. And you know our parameters and our rules and what really irritates us. You also know what goes to move on. You don't have an easy job. There's no doubt about it. 40,000 people a year come through the front doors of the jail. About 37,000 get booked down here. Another 2,000 to 2,200 get booked out in the suburbs. Not an easy task by any means. We ask you to do a lot, and we ask you to do it limited. The other day we hired 10 detention deputies, and I was telling Ben and how do you say your name again?
Andy too.
Yeah. I told him that, look, we were able to hire 10. We were looking to hire 16. We couldn't find 16 to come in the front door to work in the detention ranks. Why? I'm not sure. Some of that's back on us and our recruitment, but some of this is back on our employees as a whole. We want to hire your brothers and sisters, your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your friends. Inspire them to come work here. And we'll give them an opportunity. It's not a bad thing, not a bad way to go. We are down several detention deputies. We want to hire again. Major Martin and the Administrative Services Bureau are working hard to get another list together. We suspect that we'll be hiring upwards of a dozen or more, hopefully before the fall is over, but I need the union's help to be able to do so. Secondly, the budget. People ask me about the 2015 budget proposal. We sent something out the other day, but it's not so easy to understand just from a couple paragraphs. Here's the bottom line. If I was a politically astute sheriff worried about my election in November, I would be submitting a 2.5% budget to the county board, because that's what they asked me for. Why the heck would I ever go above that when I'm up for re-election? But I didn't do that. I and my administration submitted an 8.8% budget on behalf of you, our employees here at the Sheriff's Office. Why? Because it's going to take a little over 5% just to break even from 14 to 15, so I don't lose any more employees like I lost over the last several years. And then another 3.5% so I can hire an additional 20 detention deputies and a couple other things that we need due to our medical issues with HCMC. That's the bottom line. I'm happy to stand for questions. I know you only had about 20, 25 minutes. I'd rather hear what you want to ask, and if I can answer the question, I promise you I will. If I can't, I'll tell you I can't, and/or get back to you or one of the stewards with the answer you might be looking for.
Fair
Mike?
We have questions?
Go ahead.
You were just saying, you're talking about 5% to keep us on board. Are you talking about a 5% wage increase for next year?
No, as you know, well, let's be clear. You understand already, Phil, and I think the union leadership understands. I'm not so sure everybody understands. The sheriff doesn't negotiate your wages, right? That comes from the county board. Clear? And you agree with that? What I'm talking about is cost of living. In order to provide the 7% increase over 2 years, in order to account for the increases in fuel, in IT, in supplies, in our jail medical contract, it will take this agency 5% or 5.1% increase in 2015 just to maintain what you currently see here in 2014. Understand? So some people call that COLA. I don't know what the right term is. What I told County Administrator Huff and Budget Finance Director Dave Lawless the other day is it's 5.1% right off the top just to break even. So when you offer me 2.5%, understand this agency would then take a 2.5% decrease in our overall operating budget. Every 1% of our budget here in the Sheriff's Office is worth 18 first-year employees, whether you're detention or sworn. Make sense? So if I took a 2.5% politically correct budget in 2015, right off the top, I'd be down another 40 employees going into 2015. I don't want to be there, and I don't think you want to be there. Answer your question, Phil? Wade?
Hi. The 28-day schedule.
I know you.
I've seen you before.
You're the guy on Blogspot or whatever.
That was me. The 28-day schedule. 5 years ago, you put us on the 28-day schedules, fairly unpopular with the staff. For 5 years, every negotiation, we've tried to get the rules in writing. We're not saying you don't have the right to have your schedule. We wanted the rules in writing. We've tried to negotiate language. Even up to 5 weeks ago, at the negotiations, the administration refused to discuss contract language. Suddenly, within the last couple of weeks, your administration has opened a discussion of other schedules, and I'm wondering why. And it just seems a little suspect, because it seems like the licensed deputies you were discussing schedules with as far back as February, and even just a few weeks ago, you guys wouldn't even discuss it with us.
Yeah, well, to be fair though, Wade, does anything not sound suspect to you?
It depends.
It depends. Well, that's fair. But let's be candid about this. 5 years ago, when we went to a 28-day schedule, we were very candid with the union leadership, including yourself, about why that had to happen, or the resulting effect would have been a decrease in detention deputies. We didn't want to do that. You didn't want to do that. You may not have agreed with the 28-day schedule, but given the budget crisis that the county and the state had and what they were giving us, it was the best way to go. It wasn't ideal, but it was the best way to go. Now, moving forward, the sworn deputies came to us months ago and asked us for an alternative schedule, primarily 10s, 12s, anything other than 8s, right? They want to work more hours, less days per year. And we considered it, we looked at it, we went back and forth, they did their homework. And they brought us a proposal several weeks ago. And we looked at it and said, you know, maybe we can do that. The economy's changed, the county board seems a little less, maybe a little more willing to work with us on this. And so we decided to open it up to the other unions as well, including MNPEA. Now, if that's not a good thing, then your steward should tell me it's not a good thing, we'll take it off the table. But I think it is a good thing, which is why we broadened the work groups the other day to include members of your union. And I think, Phil, you're serving correct? Ben? Anybody else? Mike? So that's, you know, there's no bait and switch. I've heard those words thrown around for a long time. This is candid. If it's good for the sworn deputies, it's probably going to be a pretty good deal for detention deputies as well. And if we can make it work, we want to make it work. Simple as that. And these guys can make it work for you. But you got to work with them. You got to tell them what it is. I told Mike candidly on the phone, no big surprise, look, I'm not going to go out on a limb to institute a schedule that I think works for the employees if the employees aren't going to support it. I didn't have any choice with the 28-day schedule. It was either do 28 days or lose a minimum of 17 of your employees. I chose to live to fight another day to keep your employees and choose the schedule. But this time around, 8 years later, 5 years later, as you say, you guys have to decide, and these guys can get it done for you if you so wish. Fair enough?
Sir, I think the concern is not the fact that you're willing to set a schedule in principle. We don't have a problem with that. Our problem is that unless rules and management systems to run that schedule are written down, quite frankly, it's being abused by lower level management. And there's a number of us here that over the time that the 28-day schedule has been in place have been told, oh, well, you know, this is how it works this week. No, it works a different way next week. We've put in level 2 grievances, and the answer has come back, it's not in your contract. So we're all over to schedules. All we want to see is the safeguards and the writing that describes how that schedule should work, so that basically we are protected from supervisors who will interpret it as they see fit and change that interpretation from week to week to week. That's really what we want. We want something in writing so that everybody understands how the schedule is supposed to work, agreed principles, and those should be held. That has always been the issue, and we haven't had that. And that's where the skepticism is coming from.
Fair enough. So bring it forward and let's get it done.
Can we have your commitment then? That if
You
we
have
work,
my commitment.
If we work on a new schedule, that you and your administration will provide written guidelines on how that schedule is to be implemented.
You have my commitment.
No, I was just going to add, because the current contract reads, for detention is 6-3 schedule. That's how our current contract reads when they were working a 28-day schedule, so it didn't match. Our contract did not match what their schedule was.
Okay.
And so, but I mean, it's kind of a moot point, because
It's a moot point. I mean, no big surprise. Many of you have been around for a long time, right? We didn't have the best working relationship with Teamsters in the leadership at the time. Pure and simple. You agree, Wade? We didn't have the best working
I'd say there
relationship.
was differences for the reasons, but.
Fair enough. But we didn't have the best working relationship. And that relationship hindered getting a lot of stuff done at the end of the day. You have changed over 110%, truly. And this is nothing personal with Wade. Wade does his job and he does it well. But your union now has changed over 110% in terms of a working relationship. You now are willing to come to the table, you're willing to have those conversations, you're willing to bring things to our attention that maybe we weren't aware of. Again, I'm not down in the line every day, nor would you expect the sheriff to be down in the line the other day, every day. But you guys are. Bring them forward. And we'll resolve them one by one by one. That's my commitment to you, as it's been from day one. Mike, as I've told you, and Phil, and Ben, and others. Okay? What else? Go ahead.
Without better pay or better treatment or better schedule, how do you expect to attract professional employees in the next term?
Well, I think if in fact, again, I got to be careful because as the employer, I have a hard time with your contract, and I can't talk to it or not to it. But let's just talk generalities. All right. I think if you got a 7% pay bump and it took you out of the lower tier to mid-tier or maybe a little bit higher, that's a good thing. I'm confident that working together with you, it's not just about what the sheriff provides, because I don't negotiate your wages. I do not. Let's be candid about this.
Would you be in a
I negotiate terms and conditions of the contract, the management rights, county board, but work with me with the county board. Work with me to find commissioners that support us. Work with us to talk to county administration and be there when we do our budget. Don't fight the sheriff's office on what we're proposing. Help us when we are asking for additional FTEs. I asked for 20 FTEs in my 2015 budget. That's 20 more members of your union. That will give you relief. Come work with me when I go up there over the next several months to get this done. If you don't think it's a good thing, just tell me it's not a good thing and I'll pull it. But I think it's a good thing. Okay?
It's a good thing if you can attract the right people. Like you try to get 16, you got 10, and I've seen those 10. So you're not attracting professional.
They said the same thing about you. No, but understand this. Look, there are a lot of people retiring, right? It is hard to fill the positions. Have you looked outside with MPD, right? What do they say every day? They can't find the cops. We're having a hard time. St. Paul, Met Transit. You got not just the retirements, but you also got now the rebound or the bounce. People moving around, going from job to job to job. We traditionally hired about half of our sworn deputies from the detention deputy ranks. Why? Because we thought it was a great way to give somebody an opportunity, whether they're coming out of the military or wanting to start off with a family, to be able to do a job, to get benefits. If they want to be a sworn deputy, we'll help them get through school, we'll help them with the schedule to be able to do it. But if that's not the right way to go, then the union should have a conversation with us and tell us that's not a good way to go. I honestly don't know. We tried it both ways. We want the best people to be working here, particularly in your ranks. The best.
I'm a little unique. I'm the only telecommunicator here. We are at a critical stage right now with our employees. I think a lot of them would have liked to be here, but because we're being mandated on the days off, we're working 12-hour days, it's tough for people to get here. With what this gentleman just said, our quality